Hello, welcome to my second ever stream. So in this stream, I'm going to be talking about my personal journey with psoriasis, which is a skin condition that doesn't really have a cure per se, but it can be managed where you don't necessarily have to suffer with it always on you. So I wanted to start off with some disclaimers. Firstly, I'm not a health professional, so please don't take anything that I'm sharing as health advice. Always talk to your doctor and your usual health professional before trying anything, different that might be drastic to your health. So the things that I've learned from various health professionals, but in more so natural medicine, which is why this particular stream and video is focused around natural remedies. But also, as promised in my description, I'll be sharing my W.I.G.G.A.S method for maintaining my skin health. So after sort of my little intro, I will go into what that acronym stands for. So I'll just go straight into it. So also after I complete the video, I'll share a note for the people who, don't like the long introductions. You can skip my intro. But I just wanted to give you context about, I guess, my personal journey, how long I've had psoriasis, what I've tried, all of that sort of thing. But for those of you who just want to know what's W.I.G.G.A.S, what is this, what is it that I do that, alhamdulillah, thank God, my skin's sort of been under control since I've been doing this consistently. So I'll put in my description the timestamp of where you can jump to. So anyway, into my introduction. So I guess ultimately skin conditions are genetic. And I guess so there are different sort of skin conditions in my family. My brother has eczema. My father has had different sort of skin stuff. But when I discovered I had psoriasis and when it flared really badly was when I was 17 years old. And it was literally a few days before my TEE exams, my tertiary entrance exams. So it was very much that huge amount of stress that triggered it. So for people who have skin conditions, you probably may already know this, but your major triggers are pretty much stress, but also diet. And then there's lots of secondary triggers, but they're the two things that will often cause a flare and then will exacerbate a flare. So I didn't know what it was, but it started on my arm and it was just like a little small patch, but it was not like anything I'd experienced. It wasn't like pimples, it's sort of like, for those of you who don't know what psoriasis is, it's like overgrown skin. Basically your skin's like kind of overgrowing. So I first went to my doctor, my local doctor, and they said they weren't really sure what it was, but they sort of cut a little bit of my skin to do a test to sort of get more information about it. But the doctor gave me, sort of steroid creams and steroid sort of tablets. So after taking them, it seemed to be clearing. So, I was like, oh, okay, no big deal. Meanwhile, my mother, who I guess maybe it's like an ethnic thing, but she was always telling me it's your diet, you need to fix your diet, you really have to take care of your body internally with food. But I was a stubborn teenager. I love my food, I love my sweets. So I was just like, I even asked the doctor, does it matter my diet? And the doctor's like, no, not really. So I was like, okay, sweet, that's free reign to just keep eating whatever I want to eat. But what happened was when after it looked like it was pretty much clearing and it was all good, I actually, so when I stopped using the cream, because pretty much I was like, okay, it's kind of better now. I stopped using the cream, I finished the course of the tablets that they had given me. The actual psoriasis, it came back with a vengeance. So I'm not exaggerating when I say it came back in a vengeance, as in it was only on my arm, but it spread all over my arm, my face, my legs, my entire body. Like it was actually quite scary, like how fast it got worse. And so that just kind of really freaked me out. And I was like, and obviously, my exams are probably have already started at this stage. And so obviously there was the stress of that. Um, so I was just like, okay, I don't think I'm going to go to the doctor now and do whatever, because it seemed to be working, but like I don't really want to, I guess, rely on something. I don't want to be putting creams on myself and having tablets for the rest of my life. Like I don't know. Maybe it was just my gut telling me like, stay away from modern medicines with this. Um, then I guess so. The next sort of stage in my journey was with my father. He's always been very big on natural medicine, and so he actually he would every so often see a Chinese herbalist, a Chinese doctor. So he suggested, do you want to come with me and see my Chinese doctor and see if that can help you? So I was like, okay, sure, I'll try anything. But I definitely was like quite cautious of trying modern medicines again. And this is not to discredit, because I've got lots of friends who are doctors, so I respect your field and everything. But this is obviously just my personal journey. So went to the Chinese herbalist, and that he made these herbal elixirs, I guess you would call, which tasted awful. Not going to lie, it was a real process to actually make them. You had to boil it for a certain time, and it was, yeah, it's made the house smell. I think my siblings still are traumatized from the smell, so it's not the most pleasant thing in the world. But I was taking it, and it seemed like my skin was getting better, but not a lot. But one thing the doctor would tell me consistently is you have to change your diet. But I was stubborn. Like I was 17. I was like, oh, do I really have to? I don't know. I don't know if I really believe this. So basically, I was, coming back, taking these medicines, not really seeing a huge change, but there was improvement. So I was like, I'll keep at it. Um, but one day, I just decided, because it wasn't cheap to see a Chinese herbalist. For those of you who've been to one, or just who've generally seen naturopaths and so forth. So I thought to myself, I'm spending a lot of money seeing him, buying these medicines. I really should try the diet thing, because yeah, what's the harm in trying? But I didn't want to commit to it too long, so I said to myself, I'll just try it for 1 week. So if I don't really see a big difference, then, I don't know. I guess I'd sort of gotten to a stage where I thought, I think this is just something I have to live with. This is just something that's not going to go away. Yeah, which was, to be honest, it affects you mentally. It was quite depressing at times. Yeah, but anyway, so decided I'm going to try the diet thing just for 1 week. So just if you're curious on, what was the diet, it's a squeaky clean diet. So when I say squeaky clean, I mean like literally green vegetables, not fried, so not too much oil, so literally like steamed or soupy. Steamed is probably better. Not too much, spice. Salt, pepper is okay, but not too much of that either. Plain rice, but not too much, like a small portion, like a third of my plate, for example. Eggs, so like 1 egg, 1 to 2 eggs a day, not too much eggs, because anything in excess, the doctor was telling me, I guess, creates that imbalance in my body, and certain things trigger and make it worse. So then when it came to protein, fish was okay. Chicken was okay, but red meat wasn't great because it's harder to digest, which puts stress sort of on my sort of digestive system. So it's kind of like not really what can't I eat, but it was, this is the small list of things I can eat. So I did it. It wasn't easy, but incredibly, like within a day or two, my skin was clearing like so significantly. Like I just could not deny how much food actually impacts my skin. So then my mom, I was like, okay, my mom was always right. And I, had to learn the hard way. So I kept up that diet and my skin completely cleared. In addition to having those, herbal remedies, it like I because of I experienced, psoriasis for so long, and for so long I was stubborn with my diet. I actually thought I could never have clear skin, but incredibly, like doing that plus keeping up with the diet, my skin, I actually experienced clear skin for the first time. So it was just, and coming from being so bad where I was even like just kind of bedridden, it's really uncomfortable when it's like all over your body, your face. I think when you're sleeping, your face sticks to your pillow. Like it was just really such a challenging, awful experience. But to go from that to like a clear face and clear body, to the extent that people were asking me, Ray, what are you doing with your skin? What cream do you use? Your skin's so like just clear and healthy. And I was saying to them, actually, it's my diet. It's not actually anything I'm doing that I guess people were assuming. So that kind of taught me, okay, diet was a definitely key thing. And when there's some kind of imbalance in my body because of essentially abusing my body this whole time with poor diet, then I needed that sort of herbal, medicine to help rebalance my internal sort of body. So yeah, but as you can imagine, keeping up that sort of a diet when you love food, it was not easy. So what I found myself going through was I would do the diet, my skin would clear, I'd stop seeing the herbal, medicine doctor, and then I would go back to my old ways. I would eat whatever I would eat, and then usually I'd experience some kind of stress in my life, and then my skin would flare again. And then I'd go back to the doctor, I would change up my diet, I would get better. And then literally, it was like being on a hamster wheel. It was literally the same pattern over and over and over. So that's when I started to think, what can I do to maintain my health a bit better? So then I was like, okay, try I'll try, just eating better more consistently. But yeah, to be honest, I just found it really hard. So ultimately, doing what I knew I had to do to have clear skin, uh, it was just really difficult to maintain, if I'm really, really honest. But also, what I will share along my journey was so I was initially seeing a Chinese herbalist, but the actual medicine is really not easy to kind of take, like as in it tastes really awful. So then I kind of looked for other people, and I discovered like a naturopath, and her husband was a Chinese herbalist. So I saw them for a while because instead of having to make the actual Chinese herbal drink by boiling it, her husband, it was already kind of like in this powdered form, so it just made it a bit easier. So that was sort of my second stage in the journey. But then I discovered another sort of skin specialist around psoriasis, but again, it was more like herbal based. And so again, I found that was easier to take because it was already in tablet form. But also, they actually shared with me, and this is probably the first time, uh, like a sort of lifestyle adjustment that would actually help me maintain my skin health. So it did involve avoiding quite a lot of foods, similar to what the Chinese herbalist had told me. So, for example, nightshade fruits and vegetables. So, those are like really bright fruits and veg, like strawberries, oranges, capsicum, tomato, because they can trigger psoriasis. So there's also, things like similar to what my Chinese doctor had said, like, the red meat. But they also suggested things like, taking apple cider vinegar in the morning with some warm water every day could just help sort of detox your body. So I thought to myself, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try, even as my skin clears, I'm really going to try hard to maintain this because I was still able to eat, I guess, quote unquote, a bit more freely. But it didn't feel as strict as what the Chinese herbalist told me, which was literally, it was just veggies, rice, fish, no spices really, just a little bit of salt. That was just too hard. It was just too hard to maintain for a long, long time. It's a thing that I'll do in extreme situations where I'm like, okay, I've had a really bad flare. I need to get better. But I just found it too hard to just, yeah, do it for a long term. So I tried doing that, and that was helpful, but still, I just found it hard to maintain, if I'm really, really honest. And so along the way, someone had told me about fasting, intermittent fasting. It was actually a work colleague when I was working at Apple. I discovered she had psoriasis, and she told me the way she really healed was it was diet. She did juicing, like she'd do kind of like juice cleansing, I guess they call it. But then she also did like a water fast. And so I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So I actually then tried out intermittent fasting. And so, what I do, there's different ways you can do intermittent fasting, but essentially, what it involves is you don't eat for a certain period of time, but in that period, you're allowed to drink fluids, but nothing that is has calories. So water, tea is okay, black coffee, that kind of thing. So what I do is I do the 16-hour fast. So that involves essentially like I stop eating around 8 p.m. at night, and then I'll resume eating around 12 the next day. I'm not super strict, as sometimes I might eat 11:30 and I might eat a tiny bit later, but I generally try to keep eating to that time frame, and I just drink water prior. So what I actually discovered, so this is when my skin was generally better. So what I discovered was I was able to have a more relaxed diet, and it didn't seem to affect my skin as much. And I think it's because I was giving my digestive system a break, because like one of my challenges that I guess was the reason why I had psoriasis and skin problems generally is that I wouldn't move my bowels very frequently, and I didn't realize that it wasn't normal. So just to tell you how bad my bowel movement was, I was moving my bowels like maybe a couple of times a week, and I didn't realize that wasn't normal, that you're supposed to move them really every day, every couple of days at the worst. So I think the intermittent fasting actually helped with that. So it gave my body time to actually digest the food I ate, and then I was able to just be more regular. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I actually noticed a difference because I, stopped intermittent fasting for a period and was just eating my usual way, and my skin started to flare. And so I noticed that for me at least, it actually did definitely help when it came to my health. So that was sort of, I guess, that next stage of discovering, the pieces of the puzzle that ultimately led me to learning this is exactly what I can do to maintain my skin health. But also, if I have a flare because of stress and maybe Eid, which is a bit like Christmas for Muslims, where we're just eating a lot for days and days. But then these are some things that I can do that will actually help me get better faster and sort of keep it under control, stop it from just crazy spreading like I have sadly experienced a few times in my life. So what that led to then was actually last year, so 2023. It was actually a very challenging year for me for my health. I had a flare, and it was stress related. It was the same pattern. I'd stopped doing my diet. I knew I had to have greens every day, but I wasn't. Water, I was trying to keep up my water, but I wasn't always keeping up my water. And so it just got really bad, as probably as bad as it was in the very start. And I guess it forced me to then revisit my health because I was trying what I normally try. I saw my Chinese herbalist, skin specialist. Sorry, no, I didn't see my Chinese herbalist. I now have a naturopath that I see who specializes in psoriasis and other skin conditions. So I saw her. She gave me the usual tablets, the herbal-based tablets. I tried to do the diet, but I think because of just the stresses I was going through, just the progress with my skin was very slow. But also, I guess I was like, because it got really bad and it was reminding me of that very first time I got it and how bad it was. So it just sort of got me thinking, you know what, like, I really don't want to have to keep repeating this pattern and be in this hamster wheel. So I made a commitment to really learn more about what I can do. And this time, like, what can I do that is actually easy to maintain my skin health? Because doing the clean diet, I didn't find that easy. Intermittent fasting, I found actually all right because I got used to it. So I started to try out lots of different things last year to work out this plan of what will allow me to manage a flare, but just when I don't have a flare, just basically live quote unquote a bit more normally when it came to food, but not have it cause such exacerbated, effect on my body. What can I do that's easy to maintain so that I don't keep going through this pattern of I can't do it, it's too hard, the diet thing, and then my skin flares, and I see my naturopath, and then I get better, I eat clean for a short period, and then, yeah. So that then leads me to W.I.G.G.A.S. So I'm just going to share my screen so I can discuss what W.I.G.G.A.S is. Okay, so the first thing is something that I learned from every health professional in the natural medicine world that won't surprise you, and that I was doing consistently generally, but this is where I'm like, okay, I have to make sure that I do this consistently from now on. So the first thing is water. So water obviously is what makes up our cells. I'm not great at human biology, so don't question me on that. But just it helps definitely, obviously, with bowel movement. It helps with removing toxins from the body, but being consistent with having water every single day. So I aim to have at least 1.5 liters a day. I believe it depends on what your body weight is. So there are calculators out there, so you can kind of look up, how much water should I have based on my body weight. But absolute minimum is 1.5 liters. 2 liters is generally what I aim for to have every single day. So that's the first thing that I try to maintain every single day for my skin health. Now, the second thing I've actually already mentioned is intermittent fasting. So I do the 16-hour fast, and then so that's like liquids only, and then I eat the remaining time. So that's what I do. So intermittent fasting. So as mentioned earlier, with intermittent fasting, I find that it actually just gives my digestive system a break. So it has allowed me to eat just a bit more of a relaxed diet, and alhamdulillah, thank God, it hasn't affected my skin as much as if I just eat 3 full meals a day, the whole day, whatever I want, and then my body has to kind of deal with it. So that's the second part of my W.I.G.G.A.S maintenance method. See? So the next thing is greens. So that's obviously not a surprise as well. So what I will share though is the one thing I did a little bit differently that has allowed me to maintain having greens every single day. So I was reading a book by a lady who also suffers from psoriasis, and she ended up starting a juicing company. I can't remember her name now. But she ended up starting a juicing company because that's what helped her. But she talked about how greens are so important. But I guess the challenge that a lot of us have with maintaining greens is, you want it to taste nice, like you don't really know how to cook it. It takes time to cook it. It may not go with the meal you had planned. So all of these things are obstacles that ultimately lead to us not doing the greens. So what she actually suggested is do greens as a juice or a smoothie. You don't just put some things together. She gave ideas of different recipes, but that way it doesn't take time. You just have to chuck some stuff in a blender with a bit of water, drink it, and done. You've had your greens for the day. So that's what I do now is I aim to actually have greens, but also I guess within the greens family, are there certain greens you enjoy more than others? Are there certain greens that you find easier to have just whenever? And for me, that's cucumber. I love cucumber. So cucumber is something I find really easy to just have, and I can snack on cucumber. Um, but otherwise, I will try to have, like broccoli or lettuce and those spinach and kale. And so I stick to the greens I actually enjoy, which I've just mentioned. But then if I've had a day where I just have not had greens, I just make sure I make a greens juice. So I can share maybe in another video my greens juice. It's actually a green smoothie. So there's different theories about, the whole juicing versus smoothies, where the difference is with juicing, it is like you're removing the fiber, whereas with smoothies, the fiber's there. So personally, I prefer just smoothies. I find it easier as well. So that is green. So have it as a smoothie if you don't have time. Greens. Now the next thing is something I learned just in my discovery last year, which is gut foods. Because what I learned is a lot of conditions, like skin conditions in particular, a lot of disease, full stop, it all actually starts in the gut. So what are examples of good gut foods? Greek yogurt, kimchi, if you love South Korean food or Korean food, kefir. So I recently was gifted kefir grains, and I've been having kefir now really easily every day. What's another thing? Sauerkraut. This is definitely going to be the wrong spelling. I'm sorry. Sauerkraut. I apologize. The spelling is definitely wrong. What is the spelling of sauerkraut? No. You get what I'm saying? So gut food, so that's something I make sure I have every single day now. So what I do usually first thing in the morning is I'll have just like a shot of, kefir. There are probiotic drinks you can buy out there. So I was having that, but now that I have kefir, it's saving me so much money because I'm just making my own kefir at home. I have quite a lot of grains. So if you live locally, which is in Perth, I might even sell the kefir. So I'll let you know, check my description if I end up doing that. So I have a shot every day in the morning before I start my day. And then I try to have something that's good for my gut with all my meals. So even if I am dining out, so let's say, for example, I'm invited for dinner and they haven't served anything that's sort of good for my gut. When I go home, I'll just have literally like a teaspoon of kimchi. So I just ensure with every single meal, I've got something that's good for my gut, which really has helped with my digestive system and my bowel movement. Thankfully, alhamdulillah, mashallah, that hasn't been an issue for me now, thankfully. So that is, gut foods. So the next one is, it is apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar. So you can instead use lemon, but what exactly is apple cider vinegar good for, and when do I actually have it? I have this after like high sugar carb foods. In particular, it's sugar actually. So I'll probably say sugar in particular. So because sugar, I didn't mention, but that was a huge no for my skin health. That was something that I absolutely had to stay away from, and I could see a difference. As much as I love my sugar, or all my sweets, literally when I have sweets, if my skin has flared, I cannot sleep. Just the itchiness from inside my skin was just torturous. It would make my skin crack and weep. So I saw the difference within a day when I have sugar. So what I discovered, I think it was in my research last year, but I discovered that apple cider vinegar and sour foods like lemon, they actually help you stabilize your blood sugar, because what happens is it's that sugar spike that then aggravates my skin. So what I would do, and it's kind of a bit cheeky, but is if I've had sweets, like I've had dessert, somewhere, I'll have like a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. I'll dilute it with water. I prefer it in sort of like a shot glass, just so I can just get it over and done with. But if you don't like, if it's too strong for you because it's very sour, you can dilute it into a glass of water. And then what I also do is I put just a dash of pink salt. So I find that actually helps counter the sourness, but pink salt is also good for you. It helps sort of replenish your electrolytes. So that's what I do if I've had sweets. I was doing it as sort of just a detox as well. Sometimes first thing in the morning, I've shared this with friends, and they're like, it really has helped them just with just feeling better. Again, this is so cheeky, but like if I've overeaten, let's say you've had an invitation to dinner somewhere and you just ate a bit too much because the food was just amazing. So you can have this when you get home, and I don't have a stomach ache that, it's like my friend calls it, oh my God, it's your miracle elixir. Like it's really helped her, mashallah. So that's the other thing that has really helped me maintain my health. So lastly, it is supplements. So there's certain supplements that I take to maintain, again, my skin health. So there's, the obvious ones like, fish oil or cod liver oil. So I learned about cod liver oil again last year. And what's great about cod liver oil is it actually has, I now take cod liver oil over sort of fish oil. Another one is vitamin D. So I was vitamin D deficient last year. That was obviously a big reason why my skin wasn't able to get healthy again, whereas now I'm actually healthy with vitamin D. So I've actually stopped taking vitamin D because my levels are actually very, very healthy now. But yeah, taking vitamin D, that definitely really helps. But also just something for your immune system. So, like vitamin C, I'll just say immune support. So, like, it could be like Vit C, here we go. So these things, especially like in seasons where you're more prone to getting sick, which can flare psoriasis, a particular type of psoriasis. So that actually also really helps as well. So what I'll usually do is I'll just generally take this every day. But if I get sick, I just obviously increase the immune support stuff, drink lemon honey tea, things like that. But I'll probably do a separate video and stream when it kind of comes to, I guess, the more extreme things that I do if I have a very, very bad flare. If it's just a little flare, like it's manageable. But if it's really, really bad, as it was for me, where literally I was bedridden, I couldn't walk without pain. Like if it's that bad, I had to take sort of more extreme measures. But I'll probably do that in a separate video. But that pretty much does bring me to the end. I'll just make sure that there was nothing that I missed that I planned to share. Okay, so I guess what I probably wanted to say in summary is that what works for me, honestly, it may not work for everyone. But I had a friend who she has eczema, and I caught up with her after quite some time, and so she was sharing, that recently she's had a flare, and so I was sharing with her what I've just shared with you now. And as I was sharing it, she would say as I was going along, she's like, "Oh my God, I was doing that, and that's why my skin was getting better. Oh my God, when I was doing that as well, and I stopped, and I remember my skin was actually getting better when I was doing that." So then I thought to myself, you know what, like maybe it might actually help other people just to be aware of um, maybe the things they were doing right that I had no idea about, because you're just trying all sorts of stuff, kind of like throwing spaghetti on a wall, as they say, and you don't know what's going to stick. Um, but I'm sharing with you now. I've literally done everything. And this is what sort of stuck for me, thankfully, alhamdulillah. So if it can help someone else, I thought I'm just going to share it, especially because, for example, there are some things that have people swear by that I learned online that didn't really work for me. For instance, there were people who talked about the keto diet, how that really helped them with their psoriasis. So I tried it, and like my skin wasn't really getting better. In fact, the crazy thing was when I stopped doing the keto diet and I started eating rice again, but small portion with the green veggies, my skin immediately started to get better. And maybe it's because of my genetic makeup. My background is Indonesian, and rice is just our staples. I don't know if it's just in my genes that my body just loves rice. And as long as I don't go overboard with it, just for me personally, like it, yeah, I was able to get better having rice than when I was trying keto I think I tried keto for probably about almost a month. I tried keto and I was just like, I don't know if this is really working for me. Especially the extra oils, like I just felt like my body was not happy with that. But maybe people with other ethnic backgrounds, maybe it does work for you. So yes, I just thought I just want to share, and hopefully it will be of benefit to someone. Even if you do one thing, that's probably the last thing I will say is I've shared obviously quite a lot. So I'll just go back to my W.I.G.G.A.S screen. So water, intermittent fasting, greens, gut foods, apple cider vinegar, or some other sour thing like lemon, and supplements. So let's say you're not doing any of it. You've never done any of it, and this is your first time. So the only way to success is making small changes rather than drastic changes. So I would say just start with water. So just try to have even 1 liter of water a day. And then once you get used to that, start having 1.5. So that basically, I would say, the key to succeeding with anything is making small changes until they become a habit, and then starting to add to those new good habits. So yeah, just do one thing you haven't done before until it's like normal and it feels easy, and then keep adding. And yeah, I really hope that if you are suffering from psoriasis or something similar like eczema, that some of this is helpful to you. Please do comment if you try any of this and you do notice a positive change, so that, yeah, it might encourage others who are on a similar journey to you. But yeah, thank you for listening, and I'm really nervous about the audio. Hopefully the audio is okay. But if not, I will repeat this stream next week. Thank you.